Chesticles. What's up, buddy? How are you doing?
All good, baby. Keeping alive, staying alive.
That's good. That's good. I mean, being
I like
alive is the first step, right?
I like to do the podcast directly after doctor's appointments because that's what I do. Old mans just go to the doctors.
Isn't that the only time you have during the day? Is just doctor's appointment and then like podcast and then you yell at the kids on your lawn to get off.
That's just, you got to make it a day.
So what's new, man?
I got some data though. I almost learned how to use the internet. I
That's a
mean,
lie.
I make you use it. Let's be honest. I'm looking at a spreadsheet that someone else sent me, so I really don't still know how to use the internet. We got some faction data since the balance. I'm looking at the overall faction stuff sent into ITC, and we've got Iron Hands way down since they did that balance, and it looks kind of cool. A lot of different things being played. We're talking Necrons, Orcs, Grey Knights. There's a big upswing in Grey Knights now. Those guys are vicious.
Yeah. No, I saw there was a Manny Chima list that I saw with Grey Knights that I've seen a lot of people play a very similar one where he's got
The double paladin.
yes, yeah, exactly. The double
It's I mean, oh, you got one up here. Yeah, this is the double paladins with a strike, and I think you need double chaplain. The double chaplain buffs are just nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think the ability to just reposition the unit on the board, you're hitting with, a ridiculous amount of smite powers, considering tides. And now you're getting all the little buffs and benefits from all these characters. You're taking the name characters.
Voldus and Drago might be top 5 best characters or special characters in the game for the points. They're just so good.
Yeah, yeah. And then being able to strike kind of where you want, support the units. And I love the fact that they have that power that lets them shoot in the psychic phase too, out of line of sight, which is just really good.
Not only astral
Yeah.
aim, it's just nuts.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, you shooting those paladins out of line of sight is just crazy. I mean, playing against them right now, really, really tough. But playing against those Grey Knights, man, if you don't if you don't kill that brother captain, and you don't have some sort of answer for the paladins to at least slow them down, because they don't have great range. So if they can take the center of the board against you, it's a long day. You need to have some way. You don't even need to kill them. You just need to make it so that they're sitting around. They're obviously can jump in the psychic phase. They can get the hell out of there because they can just move. But if you block out the board a little bit, I found the best avenue so far I've had is to aggressively take the board and block out. And you're going to take your lumps, and basically you're going to focus on killing the brother captain, put their smites back down to 12, and killing those strike guys. Because the strike guys, while vicious, are still 1 wound, 3 up dudes. You know what I mean? They're still just random guys that you can pick up.
Yep. Yeah, and they're not really what we've been used to seeing with Marines on the table. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, with Iron Hands being a little bit, tamed, let's say, right? I still don't think we've seen that true list that we all know is coming. That 40 plus intercessor army on the table with Iron Hands, with the Apothecary, with Pharaohs, and I think they're going to have the ability to take that board presence really quick, especially against
The
the
thing
Grey
is
Knight.
stat wise, the paladins can pick up a ton of those guys, even with invulns and stuff like that. But I think that if they hold them, you really got to grab. While the paladins are disgusting and they're really tough anywhere, if you can grab them and negate some of their attacks, that's really the way. I think everybody really doesn't know how to play them yet because they're new. I mean, it's the same thing when Chaos started coming out. No one knew what to do with them and the Possessed Bound. And it's not like that's not a great list. It's just you actually have how the plays against it are now. Things to do. You got to kill if you got the chance. You kill that Master of Possession. You kill a couple of the buff characters. You know what I mean? You screen out appropriately. You know that they can, get you with a super long charge or move and charge with everything. And that's a big deal. Is just knowing your enemy. Listen to more podcasts with you and I. We'll tell you the secrets to the inner universe.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, I think going back to what you were saying earlier around, helping people with, coming up with lists, making sure they're taking the right strategy and right approach. I think something that, I'm focused on right now is mainly Adepticon. And when I talk to people about it, I'm making sure to let them know that, what I'm doing for Adepticon is not the same as what I'm planning on doing for ITC. And there's clear reasons for why they're different tournaments. And I don't think it's just Adepticon. I think you have to take into consideration, any tournament you're going to, what the missions are going to be, what's the terrain going to be like, who's going to be there, what's my path to victory, almost work backwards, right? And figure out how to be best prepared. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? I know you're helping some people out with Adepticon right now. What kind of tweaks are you considering for that? And I'll walk you through something I'm considering after.
Huge tweaks on the in the singles events, because the singles events, every single mission is progressive score. So I think we went over this before, but every single mission in Adepticon is hold hold one is worth one, hold two is worth three, and hold more than your opponent. And these are scored at the top of starting on top of two till turn five, and they're cumulative. So you can score six a turn. So the thing is that you're only worried about the progressive. The end games are really just take more objectives. The only one that's even different is mission one. Mission one has kill points, but the three others are all about still board control. So your army doesn't have to. I mean, you need some killing because you want to get somebody off an objective, but the strategy is literally take two, try to contest everything else, either contest or kill one away. So when you're looking at the board, you effectively choose one objective that you're going to try to shoot somebody off of, and then you're trying to take two, possibly three, and that's it. You literally can get just destroyed. You don't have to worry. I mean, if it's an ITC mission, in a game where an ITC you'd be losing by 15, you could be winning by 20 in an Adepticon mission, because it, if they hold one and you're on two and you can test the rest of them, you scored six, man. You scored six to their
And I
one.
think in addition to that, right, we got to also consider the fact that we're only playing 5 turns.
That's the biggest thing, is that you can make an army that's all it's trying to do is jump on the objectives, sit there, and you can just get killed. And because they only have 5 turns to do it, a lot of times those fifth and sixth turns are the big swing
Yeah,
turns.
yeah. For a lot of
You don't
people, they're
have them.
catching up in those turns because they've had a little bit of a slower, more patient game in the earlier rounds, and they're using that sixth turn to get kill more, hold more. Getting 2 or 3
Yeah.
extra of their tertiary objectives or secondary objectives in ITC. But in Adepticon, because there's only 5 rounds, if you control the board for the first round, you get out there, you get the board control, and you hold it until turn 4. It's going to be hard, regardless of even if you
Okay.
get tabled.
I've had multiple playtest games right now where I just put my stuff out there. And at the end of the game, I was looking at, single digit model count on my side, but I'm still winning the game. And a lot of times we're not even bothering to play the fifth turn, because if he's not on the objectives at the beginning, or he's only on for that one turn, it doesn't matter. He mathematically can't win.
Yep. Yeah, and I think with that being said, I'm focused on Adepticon. I'm really focusing on how do I take that board presence? How do I have an army that has the ability to stretch out, has the ability to kind of take the board and hold the board for a long period of time? I'm not trying to hide in a corner. I'm not trying to hide in a ruin. I'm going to be trying to take multiple objectives with a unit or multiple units that have the ability to survive, and they have to survive the storm of firepower that we know we're going to see. So that's kind of my approach as well. And I'm really looking at sisters pretty closely for my list. I've also been considering just jumping over and doing an Iron Hands horde of Marines as well.
I've been practicing that. I've been right now. My two test armies are a modified Raven Guard version of my LVO list, which I kind of switch around to just basically start a lot more stuff on board and not deep strike very much. And I'm just trying to start on objectives. And then it's an Iron Hands build with just 40 intercessors, infiltrators, just basically bodies to
Yeah,
push up and take care of that 5/5. The thing is that you're also got to remember that you're doing player place terrain, so you get these
crazy
ridiculous
boards.
board. Oh,
Just
we
no,
played
like
multiple
if
games.
someone wants to, there is literally a desert of no terrain in like a very vast section of the board, and the other side looks like a dense city.
The crazy thing is in a ton of the test games, if you're playing, especially the one where the objectives go down the middle, one of the Adepticon missions is right down the diagonal from corner to corner. All 5 objectives are lined up on that line, and so
Yeah, that's fortune
you
favors the bold. Yeah, I think it's yeah.
exactly that one. Every single time we play this, everybody puts all the terrain on the line, basically, that middle line. So I've played multiple games now where there's no terrain in the deployment zone. You're just trying to get the terrain on the objective so you can hide and deploy on them and put your scouts. So you have these like just crazy looking boards that just look nothing like a
Yeah.
regular 40K
And
game.
I can almost imagine how that game goes. You know, I would be. I mean, the way I would play that game is I would almost try to turn it into a hammer and anvil type of scenario where I take the flank farthest from my opponent just because he's too far from it, and I try to turn
Right.
the table on him. So I have the bottom two objectives. You know, the ones technically farthest away from my longboard
Well,
edge. Um,
yeah, well he can't even start on that because of the fact that if you put a piece of terrain, say on that far objective on you say quadrant from the top 1, 2, 3, 4. If you put one in quadrant 3, which would be the southeast quadrant, on that objective, if you block that off so you can see it from your deployment zone and he can't see it from his, it becomes a kill zone for you.
exactly.
So you can basically, not even take that objective, move up to the others. That one is always where you can kill. So you can just keep that one free and then you just move up. And it becomes really weird. The hardest one, if you've got an army that you have to spread out, is actually the weirdly enough, the Dawn of War one. Because the objectives are you have 6 of them, and they are deployment zone, and then 2 in the middle, and then you've got 2 in the basically 2 in each deployment zone and 2 in the
Is that the
middle.
one where they're 9 inches from each corner?
Yeah, 9 inches from each corner, and then you've got 2 that are 12-inch off the center point in the middle of the board. And then the rules that are crazy that you can do are the ones that are in no man's land and the ones that are in your opponent's deployment zone. Instead of scoring them on the take and hold, you can just blow them up. You can destroy them.
Seems like a good idea if you're not playing a board control army. If you had the
Well,
luck
the
of
thing
getting it
is even if
early
you
and you
are,
burn it.
well, when I was playing the Iron Hands list, what happened is I was playing a very, very aggressive list, but it was coming in. I went first. So what happened is on my turn two, my turn one, I move and I take 4 objectives. So I've got 4 objectives and I'm trying to kill him off one so I can get I'm going to get I got my 6 points from turn one no matter what. But when he comes in, what happens is on my turn two, I blew up the closest one, basically where I knew he was going to bring his forces because it was the weakest place where I didn't box out. So I blow up the one on the right. So now he can't take that. So he comes in, charges in, and basically starts to advance on my flank, and I'm losing the game quotations. And then as he comes in the other, I get into his deployment zone and I blow that one up on turn 3. So effectively, I just keep destroying the objectives as he comes to me,
Yeah.
and as I basically make a big flank move. So he controls the whole table almost. But I've already blown up 2 objectives that he could
So
have
so I'm
scored.
curious, Brad. What do you think about this ability to blow up objectives? Do you like it? Do you think it's too much?
I like it in the fact that it gives me something to do, as opposed to just taking the objectives and putting my head down. Because I'm not a. The thing is right now in testing, and we have several test groups from Ohio, where I'm from, and then Michigan, and we've got about an 85% win ratio on whoever goes first because it's such a big deal. Because you and I are playing, I move up aggressively with advances, and I sit on all the objectives. You now have to get me off those objectives, uh, just to not so I don't just get crazily ahead. So if I go first and I've put the appropriate terrain down to hide myself in a couple, all of a sudden I've got 4 objectives. You have to get me off there, or I'm going to score 6, and you're going to score maybe
Well,
3. So unless you're just okay with me taking a 6-1 or 6-3 at best, you now have the impetus to get me the hell off. But it also means that you have to make really aggressive moves that may not be optimized
well,
for
there
the
might
game.
also be people
So,
building lists that might be able to strike those objectives in the heart of your deployment zone as well. So if they can have a list that gives them the ability to get in their opponent's deployment zone and burn the objective that's 9 and 9 away from their
for
long
sure.
board edge. I mean, that's even more serious.
We've been playing some White Scars Blood Angels lists that I like a lot. They're kind of impulsor based. You're just looking to go as fast as possible, advance this charge, just get on top of stuff, and then just hand to hand your opponent off. With a lot of OBSEC units, we're talking 4 or 5 units of regular intercessors, and then maybe a Death Company intercessor. all the smashy captains from Blood Angels. You got the Smash Captain, you got the Librarian Dreadnought, you got Mephiston, you got just a bunch of scary dudes that move really fast. Lots of Thunder Hammers everywhere.
So the reason
Those kind of armies are just really hard to deal with. I mean, against you have an Impulsor with a Shield Dome, 4-up invul, T7, 11 wounds, just sits in the objective. You have to do
the
something
reason
about it.
why I asked you whether or not you like these is because I'm a huge fan of this extra strategic aspect to the game where you have to decide, am I going to burn it? Am I not going to burn it? And you have to kind of plan for it, and you have to do a little bit of math too. You have to say, okay, if I hold on to it and I know I can keep it for this many turns, this is going to be this many points. But if I burn it, it's going to be 2 or 4, depending on where it is, and whether or not that's going to be worth it, right? And the reason why I really like this a lot is because it's a very common mission in Age of Sigmar. It's actually called Scorched Earth, and it's what we would always play in almost every tournament. They'd have a Scorched Earth mission where there's 6 objectives, and you can burn as many of them as you want. You don't have to only burn 1 per turn, so it's a little bit more extreme.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's a whole game of cat and mouse where you're either trying to protect your objectives through these screens, or you're trying to, go get the objective. So there's different types of armies that do it differently. But I have always loved that aspect of Age of Sigmar, and I'm really glad that they're bringing it to Adepticon. I'm curious how it's going to be received by the
It's
40K community.
this has been a big deal on ETC for a long time. If you remember, they always have one that does this, similar to this. And the let's go down to one of the other missions real quick because they have a couple others that are just really great. The deployments are way different at Adepticon too. So I'm gonna say this right now so people don't just deploy wrong. At Adepticon, Dawn of War is 15 inches in instead of 12 inches in. At Adepticon, the Spearhead is 18 by 30 instead of 24 by 30. And the Vanguard, you're used to measuring 15, 14 and a half down and 21 and a half over. Instead, it's 24 and 24.
No,
So
24
24.
and 48.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
24 in. If you measure 24 in from the side and then 24 down from the side, that's where you get your
Yeah.
diagonal. And those are very small deployment zones, man. If your army doesn't have the ability to start, either infiltrate out or move very fast, you're going to be in a real hurt. Even the even the pointy down of war is actually different because of the fact that you start instead of going 6 up and then up to the middle, you actually go 9 up, which increases the size of your deployment zone there. So the two Dawns are bigger, and the Spearhead and the Vanguard are way smaller. So you have to have speed. You have to have the ability to get on things, or you're going to be just. I'm telling you right now, I've had a test weekend kind of thing where people came down, and we played some other games, just our pickup games at the local. And people have definitely had a wake up call for this because they try to play their normal ITC style, and all of a sudden they're down. I was just playing a guy who was just crushing. He's just crushing me on the board. He would have gotten kill one, everything every single round, but I was holding more objectives the entire game than him.
And
So I was just
And I
way
think
up.
we need to start talking. I know it's going to be a touchy subject for you, but we need to start talking about also what does it mean to make day 2 at Adepticon, right? And it's a battle point event, so you have to keep in mind the fact that if you come to Adepticon as you come to an ITC tournament like LVO, like BAO, like SoCal, and you go 4-0 on day 1, you are not guaranteed to play day 2. It is a battle point event, so you need to be making lists. You need to be making lists that you're going to get 20 more points than your opponent. You have to have a differential score of 20 in order to max a 40. So my recommendation to anyone building an army list is work backwards. Figure out how the score is calculated, right? On each mission, figure that out and say, okay, at the end of the game, I need to have this many points, right? A minimum. How do I do that? And I go, okay, well, on turn 2, I held this one and this one because I moved my army in this way. On turn 3, I was holding these and I got this kill or that kill. And you have to kind of anticipate this, plan for this. You can't build a list where trying to get these win conditions is not possible or extremely improbable, right? You want to have an approach while you're designing your list to not only win, but also win big.
And you got to know how you're going to win against certain lists. If you can't take the top, say, 5 or 6 builds and say, this is going to be my strategy versus this army to win, then you need to go back into the lab and remake your army. You know what I mean?
Let's
Cook
go
up
on
something else. Get the
let's
beaters
go on a
running.
tangent there real quick. Just a real quick tangent. What are those 5 lists? Let's talk about that. I mean, I think for sure, in my opinion, Iron Hands, walking Iron Hands with an Apothecary and Pharaohs, and then sprinkle in some extra stuff. I think that's a list. I still think that's a list.
I think it's a great list. I've been trying the hell out of that. It's crazily good. It's almost impossible to kill that whole army off. And if the thing is that they don't have to kill you, they don't have to take as much other stuff as before. So when you're just taking, 50 bodies plus maybe some centurions, basically some sort of hard target also. You're taking something that's hard to kill and the whole army's hard to kill and all they're doing is running up to the objective with a 5-up feel no pain. Dude, that thing is annoying. People get bummed about that. You shoot a unit of 6 centurions with a +1 save, especially if they're in cover. I actually had an opponent, he was shooting grav sense 6 grav sense of me with the assault sense with a +1 save and a 5-up feel no pain. He killed 1.5 guys with his 6 guys. Because you're looking at a 4-up save, because it's AP -3 for the grav. And then I got a 5-up feel no pain. You're just, they're doing so little because you're saving half.
Correct.
Half of the
Correct.
save, you're saving half of the wounds that come through, and then you're dumping a third of those wounds away with feel no pains.
Yeah.
And then the fact that the apothecary can bring back a guy. So man, if you kill 2 guys and then you kill them all the way through, and then he brings back one, that's not a good feeling right there.
A little bit demoralizing for all that effort, right?
Oh no, it's just crazy. And the thing is that you can spend too much time shooting at an army. You almost have to. The thing is you, even if you could try to punch them, they're still taking a 5-up invuln, so you're in cover. Or you're in combat.
Yep. And 2 of the 4 missions are only 5 objective based. And I think an Iron Hands army is going to be able to take 3 of those reliably. Huddle up, take 3, hold those 3, and really just have more, right? Holding more is so important, right? You hold.
Well, that's the thing is you only have to do 2.
Correct.
I mean, I'm saying it's not always, but I'm saying if you taking 2 and holding more, as long as your opponent has 1, done.
Oh, that's just a huge separation between the scoring right there, because you're getting the 2 points for holding 2, and then you're also getting 3 points for holding more than your opponent. So it's definitely a big deal.
That's the thing is if you have a ton of OBSEC, because like the list I'm looking at right now, if I was running on the Iron Hands,
let's go to second list. Let's go to second list now. So we've beat that one. So Iron Hands walking, I think it's the favorite in my opinion to win the event. I think it's the lowest skill required to play the army. Not saying anything about anyone who plays it, but I would say it's the lowest skill. I think it's the most point efficient. I think it's by far the most mathematically survivable. What would be another list that you would throw in there that you think is
BA White Scars, Impulsor spam, 5 Impulsors, BA characters because they're really tough. BA unit of you can take a Supreme Command of BA, take 3 of the Beatstick characters, Mephiston, Librarian Dreadnought, and Smash Captain with wings, and then you take another Impulsor, and for your elite in the Supreme Command, you put in a unit of Death Company Intercessors, and then you bring 2 battalions worth of White Scars.
So you have first turn strike with the strat, with the Death Company unit. You have the ability to take board with reliably fast, reliably survivable vehicles. You have the ability to strike pretty much wherever you want. There's a strat for White Scars, right, where the vehicle can just go like a million inches. Like,
well, that's the thing is they're already moving 14 and they can advance and charge. So you're looking at 14 plus an average of 4. You're looking at 18 inches plus a charge, and then that just takes the vehicle.
Correct, but don't they also have something where the vehicle can go 14, run, and then there's a strat where the unit can get out as well and then shoot someone?
Yeah, they just can't
charge. But if they have all those auto guns, that's also really, really good. And they can get board positioning on people. Like, they could just get far.
The thing is that you instantly, especially, that army is insane when they get first turn because they get out, they can dump the guys out. You're hiding behind places.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't deploy anything on that one Scorched Earth game, if you don't put a unit on that objective, and they're in the corners, right? So if you're like, oh, my army needs to castle, and I'm castling on the right one, They could literally just move their vehicle up to midboard, run it, get the unit out. I'm assuming run the unit as well. I mean, I know they can't charge, but they can also run the unit, and they can
Yeah,
burn the
you don't
objective
even need
on
to.
turn two.
If you look at any of the boards, all they need to do is move in advance,
Oh, okay, got it.
and they get on those things.
So
So it's just
fast.
crazy. And the thing is that you also have to be able to deal with. So your army's a shooting type army. Can you deal with the fact that you're going to get charged by 5 units of intercessors with thunderhammers, multiple characters, a con on a bike with a relic bike from White Scars that's going to grab you on a 4-up? And then you've got the chaplain for White Scars that's going to give you reroll hits, reroll wounds. Those guys can churn through your troops. If they kill your troops and you just have, whatever left, your hard targets, maybe some characters, you're still just going to lose, man. Because even though you're going to start killing them,
So
they just
so
took all the
so who's got the
objectives.
edge
If it's
there then?
turn
I mean,
four,
I've already gone out and said I think the Iron Hands list is my fave to win the event. But if the Iron Hands player runs into this Blood Angels White Scars approach, who really wins that game? If the Iron Hands go first and they take board, will they
it's
hold long enough?
it, I feel the Iron Hands is probably favored, but the BA White Scars has more plays because of their speed. So they can get to an objective that basically you guys kill each other off of. They can still move over there really quickly. The downfall of the Iron Hands list, the only real downfall is speed.
Yeah, but I would also
It
say
just
too the downfall of the White Scars Blood Angels list, and I don't think it's a downfall. I just think that the player skill for that one is going to be a lot higher.
Oh yeah, it's going to be way higher because you're going to want to hit. You're going to want to hit flanks, pull people off things, slow the army down. You got to think way ahead too, because that person might.
You have to know how to do the assault phase really well, right? A lot of players still are having difficulty with assault phase, how to move models, when they have to go towards the nearest unit, when they don't, how to string
how to
them
limit
out.
your attacks from your opponent too. If you want to hit a flank and not get everybody in the unit attacking you, if you want to hit just a
Yep.
side, so basically only a few of his models are attacking back, you can wrap those things up and really limit their
You can
movement.
leverage the vehicle too to slow them down as well, funnel them through.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
you basically put those, and you can actually lock people in with the vehicles. Half the time with the vehicles, I'm using them to try point people. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
if there's anything a listener learns in this episode, I think if you're playing an assault based army, always, always, always try to figure out a way to ensure that everyone in your unit is attacking, but everyone in the unit that you are attacking doesn't get to attack you back somehow. Figure that out on the board, whether you're leveraging terrain, whether you're leveraging a ruin, whether you're leveraging another unit. Um, Being able to mitigate attacks back on your unit is fundamental to the success of an assault army.
Yeah, those impulsors are amazing for taking characters out too. You you base them up in an assault with a vicious character. You still have a 4-up invul, and you're still T7. So instead of that dude pummeling your squad, all of a sudden he's attacking an impulsor.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then he has to leave combat after that, which is hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like even a random Thunderhammer guy, even big dog, statistically still doesn't kill that impulsor because
So speaking about mitigating attacks back, I would say the third list. Let's see if you agree. Would you put Grey Knights in this category at Adepticon?
Grey Knights are vicious in this, and the thing is that because those paladins are nasty, the only downfall in Adepticon, because I think they're actually way better in ITC.
I would agree.
The only thing that's downfall is that a good player is going to screen out, so they aren't able to deep strike on the objective. So even when they move them with the psychic, even though they're deep striking on turns 2 and 3, they're going to try to push them off, so they're taking the objectives, and the Grey Knight player can't.
And then 4 and 5, even if they've basically tabled their opponent, they still haven't had the objectives for 3 turns. So
Right.
it's going to be
So
tough.
hopefully you're up on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but Paladins is the unit. The reason why I brought him up was Paladins. If you guys are playing against Grey Knight players, remember Paladins fight you when they die. So if you charge the unit, you need to ensure that the lowest number of Paladins can fight you back. Try to get those charges off where there's only 3 Paladins that are within range, even after they pile in, and you'll be much better off.
Yeah, because that whole unit getting to fight on death, whew,
Gross.
that might just peel everybody. And that the thing is you know what's a crazy, a really spoiler list, and not even a spoiler because they're just good, but they take care of so many of these. Eldar right now with double spears and some Harlequin bikes, dude, they have all the speed in the world. They can get anywhere. They're also a great counter. They're a laughable counter, I think, played well against the Impulsor type list because they can surround them. They can get anywhere they want. Those bikes with Quicken, they're moving 16. They're 16 on the
Yeah.
Quicken. Even if you deep strike them, you can take the X-Arc power for the pluses to charge. You know what I mean? Because you got one probably in reserve. And those guys have Haywire. I mean, they've got the tools. Plus, they have a 2 damage weapon in hand to hand with the glaives, with the Harlequin bikes. And then the spears are 2 damage anyways. Those are looking to pick up Primaris Marines like all
So you're
day
thinking
long.
maybe
And they
Eldar,
just
maybe consider Eldar for Adepticon. Do they have the board presence? Do they have the survivability and the board presence though?
that's the only problem is I think that they have a they actually I feel have a problem with versus the Grey Knights.
I would, yeah.
Because it comes down to a lot of scissors paper rock on that with a lot of those. That's why I'm looking at trying to pick the safest army right now. I'm like I said, I'm up in the air between the Iron Hands and the Raven Guard, and the Raven Guard probably isn't even the best pick. It's just the one that I've played the most in the last 6 months. I've just played Raven Guard for 6 months
Yeah, I
straight.
understand. I think Eldar, though, just going back to Eldar, I think that some of these missions where the fact that the objectives are 12 and 12 from the corners, 9 and 9 from the corners, 15 and 15 from the corners, an army that kind of plays board edges, waits patiently, and almost says, if you take the objective, I will kill you. So it almost becomes this cat and mouse game of, do you go and take those objectives right away? Do you take on the Eldar unit that's going to counter you if you take it? So we're always under the assumption that, a unit's going to take an objective and hold it for 2-3 turns, and that's kind of the approach. But I think where Eldar is going to have an advantage is the ability to kind of address whichever objective their opponent tries to take, and then, re-navigate its troops so that they can strike that unit that held that objective because of the mobility that you were talking about
Oh,
earlier.
the thing is I think they're the most difficult right now, and the two missions that have 6 objectives. I actually think they can abandon the beat in the middle of the table. Eldar can basically get anywhere they want, so they'll have 2 basically in their zone, and then just go to your opponent's deployment zone. Because a lot of these missions, people are just abandoning their deployment zone, not abandoning, but just they're taking the middle so hard, to get all the objectives that a lot of times you can do a flank strike, and all of a sudden you're taking the ones that are in their deployment zone, and you basically got 2 in your deployment zone or in your deployment area, just basically your side of the board. So you're taking those 2, and then their 2, and then you're just kind of leaving the ones in the middle away and striking really hard on flanks. And the thing is that if your opponent tries to then retaliate against you, you have the speed to just leave. If all of a sudden he brings too much force down to you, okay, cool. I just left. I just drove away 22 inches.
Exactly. And I don't think flyers are going to have a place here. I think it's really going to be the spears. I think it's going to be the Seer Council unit. I think it's going to be Harlequin bikes allied. And honestly, it's going to be like a very mixed approach to Eldar, Harlequins, Dark Eldar that has the ability to kind of fight where they need to fight, move around the edges of the board, get those 4 objectives in the corners, and really push the game from that envelope. And I think they will be a top 5 list, actually, especially with the nerfs to Marines last week.
Right.
I
I
think
think
they're
they're
even better.
right now. I was going to go with I myself was going to go with Eldar. If I had more reps this year with Eldar, I would play Eldar. I just think they have everything in your toolkit, and they're a warlord's armor. They're a general army. You know what I mean? You make the right decisions. They're not. They're definitely not a click and play army though. Like if
No,
you,
no, no. Skill cap here is as equal, if not higher, than the White Scars Blood Angels idea, right?
yeah, I think it might be the most on that because I mean the wheels can definitely come off um, if things happen. And the only thing with this is I'm also because of the player place terrain, like people like yourself that are totally willing to hardcore make one side of the board the better side of the board and then just win the roll.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do. Back when we would place all the objectives and there was like 6, and my opponent would place the first one, that was like literally my favorite parts of 40K. Because I would just look at him and go, okay, place your first one. And if they didn't put it in the middle, if they put it on the side, I would put all 3 of mine on the same side. And then I would just look at him
just
and
gonna
go,
win this roll.
I'm taking that side.
Son of
There's
a
4
bitch.
objectives there. And I will literally sit an orc army on all of those objectives and go
I
ahead.
want to go to that next. Let's go to that. We just talked about the orcs. I think orcs are super valid for this tournament.
I was just going to go there. Yeah. I was going to go to orcs. Go ahead.
Dude, having a million OBSEC guys is just crazy. Just bringing boys and grots and just I don't even care what you bring. You might literally be set the 40K record for most models killed and still win a game, or most models that you have had killed, not you killing. But
I think Rose is silly if he doesn't show up with his Grot army he took to ETC. I think that Grot army basically
I think his protege is going to
beyond.
take it though. Pampers. Pampers is talking. Pampers is gonna. He's talking about taking so many grots that we had to actually figure out if they were deployable in these small deployments.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, then I think that's the approach. I mean, I 100% think that Pamps is on the right track there. I think that's a really,
With a
really
pain
good,
boy,
really,
six
really good
up,
approach.
and you have to kill three, four
Oh
hundred
yeah.
models.
Yep. Yeah, that is definitely if you are trying to win Adepticon, if you are trying to get ITC points, if you are trying to give yourself definitely an advantage, I would say that that is an approach for sure.
I think that my thing is that you're going to have OPSEC units. You need OPSEC units. Period. If you make an army that doesn't have OPSEC units, there's a couple keys for me. OPSEC units, infiltrating units. Not doesn't have to be infiltrators like Marine, but like someone that could start on Rangers, whatever. People Nurglings. What you need a couple units that can start the game out of your deployment zone and on top of a couple objectives. Those are going to be the keys. Then you need some speed and you need some durability.
Sounds like you're going first. You're jumping a unit of 30 grots on all the objectives, stringing back to fearless bubbles, and making sure that they don't basically just die, and then moving up the rest of the grot army right behind.
Well, that's the craziest thing about that is you string them back, man. The funniest thing is you kill everybody but four models. All of a sudden, the Grots still are taking three objectives and they're fearless after so he guns one of them down or D3 of them down.
Yeah, you lose D3. Yeah, just D3 grots die, or you just pay the
Yeah.
2 CP and they don't die at all. But I wouldn't do that.
Either way, I'm
I would
just
just
saying,
lose D3.
because you don't have to maintain coherency until your turn. So
Yeah.
who cares? I think an AdMech army is kind of scary in this because they've got the best indirect tanks. I can't say the best indirect tanks, but like really good indirect tanks. Those AP, doing 2 damage at what is it, AP2?
Yeah.
Um, those tanks are good.
They are, but again, AdMech suffers from survivability. Now, if I was going to take AdMech, I would probably put them in a Valorous Heart Sisters army as an add-on, right? Use the AdMech as the output fire.
Yeah,
Use
that's
the
I was
tanks.
I definitely wasn't thinking of them a whole by themselves, man. Like you put all the sisters taking the objectives and the AdMechs in charge of killing people off. They can take a couple units of breachers and stuff like that. You can, man. Those guys are good, man.
Yeah, if I had the
Got a
time,
high volume.
if I had the time to make some AdMech stuff, I would probably look into that for Adepticon this year because it would be fun to play as well. I think they're a good addition to a Sisters army. I think they're also a good addition to Guard. I'm personally not considering Guard for Adepticon, and this is actually a really good back on our original topic is Adepticon list versus ITC lists. I think moving forward, I'm really going to be looking at Guard quite heavily for ITC. With fixed terrain, I know that there's going to be ruins. I know that there's first floor line of sight blocking for sure. I know I'm going to have somewhere to hide my artillery. I think adding Guard to a Sisters army is exactly what my Sisters list needs for the ITC missions. It gives them the ability to hit stuff turn one. It gives me the ability to get reliable kills turn one. It gives me the ability to hit things out of line of sight. I just think they're way better
Especially
than the
going second.
exorcists. Yeah, especially going second too. Yeah.
You can literally you can almost guarantee that you can get for one kill one, even if nobody's in the line of sight. But you can almost guarantee that you can kill something off an objective. So you can try to always kill more, hold more.
Yep.
Or at least one of the two. Because if you can kill, you know exactly where you need to go. We were talking about the benefits of that, but you can, especially if you have the artillery, because even if somebody's hiding, you can just still get that kill more, or you can kill them off one of the objectives. So you're now holding more. And I think people really underestimate doing nothing and hiding, and they can do that and get their kills.
Well, people are getting a lot better at that though, Brad, and that's why I'm actually considering Guard in ITC because at LVO, my list was definitely not optimized. I did not make the right list for LVO. I had an extra unit of Seraphim, an extra unit of Zephyrim. So 3 and 3 just didn't make sense. 2 and 2 is really the way to go. So dropping those 2 units was already a start to some of the changes I'm making in my list. And then in addition to that, The exorcists for me did nothing because my opponents did exactly what you said. They hid turn one. They did nothing. They kind of just stayed away. They realized that I wasn't going to get a kill and they weren't going to get a kill reliably either. So they were like, I might as well just hide everything because I'm not going to kill an exorcist turn one, especially one that's like got cover and ignores -1 and -2 rend. So I'm probably just going to hide. And then I couldn't kill anything either. But if I add the guard in, now I can do exactly what you just said, is pick up that kill, pick up kill more, and have the ability to like target what I want. Oh, you have this little unit of scouts hiding behind a wall. Great. They're a perfect kill for me. So I could just ensure I get those points. And I think that's kind of what Sisters need. But at Adepticon, I don't think it's the right way for Adepticon because I don't know where terrain will be. I don't know what type of terrain I'm going to have. I'm not guaranteed a ruin with first floor line of sight blocking. I might just have basilisks open in the wind, right? Like just ready to get destroyed in 2 seconds. So for me, really what I'm considering adding to my Sisters list is how can I contend with the Iron Hands approach? How can I contend with the White Scars Blood Angels approach? How can I contend with Eldar? And now I'm even considering, can I even beat 300 Grots? Or do I just get Pamp so drunk that he can't move the models? I don't know.
That's going to be hard, though, because he doesn't drink.
Oh, yeah, I know he doesn't. But that's why it'll be very easy.
You're like, look, Pamps, we're going to have to drug you up.
No,
Like,
you literally just get a
Pamps to be
syringe,
going.
you pour it in his cup when he's not looking. He never tastes it. And then later everyone's like, oh, well, you know, it wouldn't even take that much because he never drinks. So like it would just take a very little bit. And he'd just be like, what's up, guys?
I like the strategy. I like it a lot.
Obviously, guys, that is a joke. We will not be doing that to Pamps.
We won't be drugging Pamps. Please don't call the cops on us. I really think that you making these lists, you have to look at those, though. That's why, even if you don't get a ton of time to play test before Adepticon, guys, you should, like I was saying, when you're making your list, ask yourself, can I win versus all the list that we just said? Do I have a chance to win is the point. You don't have to say this is a great matchup, but if you say all 5 of those are a dumpster fire for you, well, you're going to have to make a new list.
Or just realign your expectations, right? Understand that, you know, your current army isn't going to be up to par to beating those top armies that are kind of favored for the event. Armies. They're top Adepticon armies. I understand that. And that's what I was going to say. They're armies that are just, they happen to be favored for the event because the way the army plays inherently are advantages to the event's format. And power gamers, big time players who are going to try to win, and they're building armies specifically for this event, right? These armies will hit the shelf the moment after, or they already have these armies in the past and they're on the shelf, like the Scrot army, right? That was great, you know, a little while ago before Marines came out. But then when Marines came out, the Grot army died and it just sat on a shelf. So now the ability to take it off the shelf and play with it is how a lot of the top gamers in Warhammer 40K tournaments play. And knowing that going in is going to ensure that you at least have a game plan. So figuring out how you're going to get objectives, holding more objectives than your opponent is really going to be key. Don't have a turn where you don't hold 2. Try to make sure you build an army that can at least hold 2 objectives. So you're getting the 2 VP and you're making it more difficult for your opponent to get more than you because they'll have to have 3 then. And in some missions, that's all the objectives.
You have to read these guys. If you're not going to play test them, which I highly advise, you need to read through these because they are not what you've been used to. If you're playing ITC, an ITC equivalent style, you are not used to these Adepticon missions. They are nothing at all like what you're used to playing. Your whole play style changes. Everything you're trying to do is completely different. Unless you could actually just wreck your opponent and find out you're losing. And since it's a battle points tournament to get into day 2, you might table 4 people and find out that you've either went 3-1 or just barely scored any points because you might be coming from so far behind while you're doing that. You definitely need to read through these missions and preferably, you know, get everybody together, fire the barbecue up and start cooking some stuff here.
That's always the best way to do it is barbecue, some friends, get some tables going. I mean, it's getting warmer too. It's going to be like around 65 degrees in Chicago this Sunday. So I'm pretty excited. I'll have everything open for the first time in a while.
But yeah, I mean, we're going to get together. We're going to get some barbecue and we're going to just play some games. I'll hopefully play some games. So
that sounds amazing. I mean, I'm going to be catching up on Picard and Working on my Adepticon stuff.
If you guys aren't watching Picard, you're missing out. It's solid.
Tell me about it.
Very, very solid.
Very good.
It's actually
Very
getting
good.
more,
It picks
it's
up
actually
too. It
ramping
picks
up.
up too. If you're not a, yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say that. Go ahead.
It started. I mean, it starts out slow. It's a slow burn. And tell you the truth, if you haven't watched it yet, it's the best time to watch it because I think that binge watching 2-3 episodes at a time is definitely the way to go because you get a lot more continuity. They do kind of a slow burn, setting up the story, setting up the timeline because it's a little bit after um, the last movies that he was in. So that's a super good time. So if you're not watching that, you should be watching that. And you're not a proper nerd. I don't understand what you're doing with your life here. So speaking
Exactly.
of shows, have you been watching Carnival Row? Did you watch Carnival Row when it came
Yeah,
out?
yeah, I watched it. I mean, my wife was much more into it than me, but I did like it. It was very good.
So good. Dude.
Yeah, it was very good. I'm
We were
liking
talking
Picard
about-
better, and I was a little bit disappointed with Altered Carbon. The second season, that one came. First season's pretty solid. Second season,
I
not a
was I really liked the first season. I'm not a huge fan of his. The problem is they do so much narration, and I just don't like his voice for one.
fan. Oh, okay.
So like it bugged me. And tell you the truth, the problem was also I kept going. Out of actors that I would see as the next guy, I really wanted to see Idris Elba in that. And stuff.
Yeah, Idris Elba. I heard. I don't know if it's still true, but is he doing James Bond? I heard for
That's
like,
the
some
rumor that
rumors.
they're trying to get him on there.
Okay.
That would heat.
I
Man,
would
he'd
love
be
that.
awesome with that.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I love him
opposing
too.
guys.
And what was that show? That British one where he's a detective. Was that Alice
Luther?
or Luther? Yes, and Alice is the other character. Yeah, I love that show. I was sad when that
He's
show
great
stopped.
on that.
Yeah.
And the thing is it. I don't know. They seem to have abandoned some of the stuff from before. He was too abrasive for me. It was like the first couple episodes of the new Altered Carbon that made his character too unlikable.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Where you're just like,
But,
I kind of want you to fail. Your guy's kind of a dick.
But you know what I am looking forward to? You
What?
know, there's a video game coming out in April.
Oh man, it's at the end. If you're talking some Final Fantasy VII remake, Brad Chester's go-to, one of my favorite games of all time. If you haven't watched some of the gameplay for that, oh man, it is looking fantastic. They're altering some stuff though. They've changed their doing some of the storyline changes, but they've got the two of the originals. They have two of the original guys that were on for story writing and stuff. So I'm curious to see how far they go because they're doing I'm super excited for it, but I have a one pet peeve bug because they're just doing games like this now. They did it with StarCraft. They're not putting out the entire game. Like they're doing Final Fantasy Remake and they're going to do it in parts. So you're not going to get the whole game right away. You're going to get just like the StarCrafts did a while back. You're getting basically how you got the Terran first, and then you got the Zerg, and then you got the Protoss kind of thing. Instead of getting it all in one game, you're going to have to purchase multiple games to get one game, which is kind of annoying for me because I'm an old man and I think that if you buy a game, you should get the whole game.
I miss getting like the booklet and stuff, man.
Oh,
I feel super old when I get games because I miss
What was it,
getting
the Brady
like the
one.
pack.
The Brady's there's the Brady guide, I think it was the walkthrough.
Yeah, the walkthrough. Yeah, but I mean, just in general, I miss in general when you go to the game store and you bought an actual like game box with the game and like a booklet and like a poster and like a bookmark.
Oh yeah,
thingy,
man.
and like all the stuff was in the game. You know, I
100%.
recently went and bought a game at GameStop. I bought what did I buy? Either Drake's Uncharted or it was the Metal Gear game. I can't remember which one it was, but I bought an actual box. They handed me the box, and then when you open the box, it has a code for online store. And they're like, we don't have the actual CD. I'm like, why am I here?
Exactly.
Like, I could just go online then. Like, I like to have physical copies. So I immediately gave it back to them. I'm like, I want a physical copy. They're like, we don't have a physical. And I'm like, well, then I'm not buying the game. But I mean, as far as Final Fantasy VII goes, as long as Bahamut is in the game and I get to see his summon,
Dude, the
I'll
new
be
summons are sweet. New summons, I
happy.
watched some the gameplay, from guys that got the game early, different reviewers and stuff like that. You summon your why can I not think about the summons names? Whatever.
which one? Ifrit?
You summon,
Shiva?
you summon like Ifrit and
I
stuff
know
like
them all.
that.
Leviathan?
But they actually show up and they fight with you.
Yeah, it's like Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
So that they've done that since Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, it's just
so
cool
in
because
7, it was just a quick movie, and then boom, you saw the hit points. But after 10, they would be another participant in your party.
Yeah, but they do it both now. So you get both, the best of both worlds now, because what they do is they fight with you for a while, and then when they do their last hit, then they do that big animation like you would have gotten in the first
I'm
one.
super pumped about it. Ifrit was always my favorite. Bahamut was amazing. I love Odin. I love Shiva. I also like the fact that you could rename them. So like back in when I used to, I don't know if they still do this, but you could rename the summons when you got them. So I would always give them like new names, like Frost Queen or something like that. You can even do 40K names, right? You can call like, yeah.
uh, Next thing you know, Knights of the Round's coming out. Gotta level those chocobos up. I hope I'm doing that again. I'm not gonna lie. I want to nerd out and get my black chocobo and my gold chocobo.
Chocobo Racing. There was like Chocobo
Yes.
Racing in one of those games. I can't remember which one it was. Honestly, I
Seven,
like.
seven had the rate. You had to race. You had to literally win X amount of races because you had to breed them. Remember, you had to breed a green one, then a gold one, and a black chocobo, and you had to like breed them together to make the special chocobo so you could walk over the mountains, so you could actually find what you needed to
I
find.
like the
Uh,
dumbest side game ever. I'm a big side game guy in games, like in The Witcher, which is fantastic, by the way, if anyone's ever not played it yet. Man, the card game is just amazing in Witcher.
Gwent
Yeah,
is the
Gwent.
card game.
Yeah, Gwent.
Dude,
I loved it.
I played Gwent so much. They actually released a online card game of Gwent now.
Oh, that's sick.
CD
That's so
Project
good.
CD or whatever their creators did it because it got so popular. Dude, I you want to talk about just full on side questing? In Final Fantasy VIII, they had the card game in game. I think I
Yes.
played way more of that than the actual game. I think I
Well,
forgot to keep
game
questing. I just
that
kept
game
playing cards.
kind of sucked. So I didn't like 8. I wasn't a fan of 8. So
You weren't a fan of the Gunblade?
no, I did not like the Gunblade. I didn't like really anything about 8. I did like Aaron, whatever his name was, Aaron, the guy with the scar and the giant
Yeah.
sword with the
I know what you're talking about.
yeah. I actually dressed up as him on Halloween once.
I liked the guy. I didn't like the game like I liked 7.
No, I liked 7 and 10. 10 had a game called Blitzball. It was water
Yeah,
polo
water
underwater. It was amazing. It's like they're all holding their breath underwater playing water polo.
for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. But the handling in that and the controls sucked. They were horrible. But I just for some reason loved that little side
The
game.
only thing I didn't like about 10, I like 10-2 or whatever better than I like 10.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't like the super linear thing because you remember you could only go from like little bubble to little bubble kind of thing.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
That's I like the game, but I didn't like the fact that they were like, you have to go here.
10
At
2.
least give me the pretend that I can go somewhere else.
Correct. Yeah, like at least give me the illusion that it's open world.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can
yeah, I
still make
understand
it
what
so that most of the places are closed off, but you couldn't go anywhere. You literally went go to the next place, and that
you're
was
saying.
it.
Yeah. 10 2 was also the one where it was predominantly like all women, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, because you found out he was a spirit or whatever,
Yeah. He like
and then he went away, and then the girl, it was all girls, and they went to quest after him.
yes, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I totally remember that. I love those. Those were really good, and I'm looking forward to the remake of 7. I think it's gonna be great. I'm gonna get it right after Adepticon and spend some time playing. I mean,
super excited about it.
Zelda still takes all my time on the Nintendo Switch. It's
I think
just
that's so funny is I was never because of the fact that because I'm 1,000, I never was a Zelda guy for whatever reason.
no, me neither. I wasn't a huge Zelda guy. I played Ocarina of Time and I liked it a lot. But the new game Breath of the Wild on the Switch is by
Awesome.
far one of the best games ever made. And any system on any game, it is insane. It is insanely good. There is no one in the world who would pick it up, play it, and say it's not good. I mean, it might not be their thing, and they might say, you know what, this is a really good game, but I don't have the time to play it, or it's not really my style, but it seems like a really good game. I think that's probably the worst feedback it would ever get because it's just insanely amazing.
I'm gonna look at that. What I did start doing? I started another Witcher 3 run.
Oh, Witcher 3 is so good.
Well,
I would,
I watched the show again. I was just like,
yeah, I think everyone did. There was an article. I saw an article on like Bloomberg or something where they talked about how right after the show came out and like people started watching on Netflix, like the online sales and the playing of the expansion packs just like automatically dramatically increased.
yeah,
Like,
I hadn't played the expansion packs, and like
yeah,
as soon as
everyone
I
went
got
like
done with the
buy
series,
Vampire expansion pack, play.
exactly. I was like expansion pack, all yes.
Yeah, and
Thank
they
you
also
very
gave
much.
they also released a new mode where you can replay Witcher from the very beginning, and go through the entire thing again, but you don't lose any of your war gear or any of your accolades. So you're like a god
Wow.
mode. You're like,
I'd actually like it.
yeah,
Well,
I like it
how
hard
we used
too.
to
Yeah,
do a Play Plus kind of deal where you completed it? Because it is tough in the beginning with Witcher, man, because you have nothing. You got like a couple dandelions that you picked up, not the character,
But here's the
just
thing, though.
actual.
Here's the thing, though. When you restart it, Brad, you can actually make the difficulty of the game at a higher level than was originally available. So they have like new insane mode. So you like restart it at like level 36, whatever, with all your war gear and all your magical potions and all your swords. But then like everyone you fight is also like 36 or higher.
That's
So like,
awesome because
yeah.
like the game's fairly tough. Period. You know what I mean? If you play one of the middle
Oh yeah,
difficulty
yeah. The
levels
game's tough. Yeah, no, the game's really hard. I mean, some of those like invisible vampire dudes, those guys were tough, man. You had to like make sure all your spells were right, make sure the oils on your blade are correct.
Yeah, and the fact that you could only kill them if you put down the triangle, you could only fight them
Yep.
inside the sign that you put in. Yeah, they were tough. I
Yeah.
like it. I actually knew that we were going to tangent off this because I was so excited about Final Fantasy VII. So I knew that this was going to. So any of you guys that aren't big video game guys, I don't know what you're doing with your life because you're already playing with tiny toys because you're listening to us. So you should do this too.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, that was a long tangent. I don't know if anyone's still even listening to us at this point in time. Anyways, I think today's podcast was mainly about making sure you design your list in a way that is advantageous to the event. Focus on the event. You know, I don't provide consulting as Brad does, but you know, I help people out. I'm a soundboard for a lot of people. They call me, they reach out to me and say, "Hey, I think I may go with this or that." And I always give advice based on the tournament. So I always say, "Hey, what are the missions? What is your path to getting the points necessary to win? And what is winning to you? You know, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to make day 2? Because if you are, you need to get as many battle points as possible. That's your goal. If you're trying to just make it really high up and, you know, you want to go 3-1, you want to have a really good showing, you want to have a good painted army, you want to have good sports. And in that final, you know, because awards are given out for Friday alone or Thursday alone. And that's overall, right? If your goal is overall, that's perfectly fine. And that's actually very, very, you know, prestigious award as well. And I think a lot of people go for that award. So getting that Renaissance Man on Friday is a big deal too.
They have a big scores for painting a comp. So not as big as the team, but still pretty big.
Yeah, but you can easily go 3-1 and win that. You know, you're going to be running against people like, you know, Naden and Gagno and you know, people that you know are very good painters, very good players, and they kind of are, you know, the total package of a 40K hobbyist player and everything. So those are the kind of people you're going to go against. So you have to realize, you know, what type of, you know, army build you have to bring and how much effort you have to put in that army to meet the level of skill required to get the points necessary to beat some of those guys. So keep that in mind when you're going.
Also remember, guys, number 2 is the best for sportsmanship, not number 1.
Yeah, that is true. So yeah, for those who don't know what Brad's talking about, the vast majority of people don't read the sportsmanship stuff. They just kind of circle the one they think. And Adepticon on purpose, I think, move them around a little bit. So there's like a thumbs up, another thumbs up, and then there's a thumbs down. So nobody ever circles the thumbs down, and they always circle the thumbs up. But I think they just circle the first one they see, or like the number 1 thumbs up, right? Because they're in order of like first, second, third, and third I think is thumbs down. So the second one is actually like the game was amazing. It was a really good game versus the game was okay. Like nothing happened bad, but the game is fine. So they actually score those differently. So if you give someone a score of like, we had no arguments, it was okay, versus this was one of the greatest games I've played, you know, those are skewed differently in the actual system when they do scores.
I do think that's hilarious, though. I've had my friends not even look at those. I'm like, really? I got a second score? And they're like, no, I gave you max. Like, you sure as hell didn't.
Yeah, and I think I don't really want to harp on sportsmanship right now, but yeah. Amazing is like fantastically brilliant game reserved for truly special games of Warhammer. Your opponent went way beyond the Call of Duty and was an incredible sportsman and honestly made additional effort to provide a fantastic game. I mean, literally amazing is like, I would blow my opponent. And good is like, everything was great. We had a really good game. It wasn't the best game I've ever played in my entire life, but it was a really good game. So, I mean, I know Brad's going to expect every single person he plays to always give him amazing.
Because I am amazing.
But the truth is, Brad, is you may not be amazing for everyone. You're amazing for me. I would give you an amazing. But you may not be amazing for everyone.
Take all my
so
meds
don't pressure your opponent. Don't pressure your
my
opponent.
migraines. I'm amazing.
Don't be pressuring your opponent to give you amazings out there. If you
I
get a
am
good,
pressuring
be
him. You
happy
should
about
always
that
pressure
good.
your opponents. Sit on top of them. Sit on their lap as they're sitting and filling out their sportsmanship.
I love the dudes who circle amazing, but they do it in a way where they're like their score sheet is in front of your face. Like they put it so far out in front of you so that you know that they gave you an amazing. So if you don't give them an amazing now, you're a bad person.
You know, I am going to talk about sportsmanship for just 1 second because I want your opinion on something. One of my, I made a point the other day to several people. We are kind of going back and forth about this, and I feel that there's a social contract. I made this with Sparks, by the way, because he was giving me the guy that wrote the how to win or whatever, basically winning at all costs. He was a Magic player, and I was like, that's not the case in 40K, because there's a social contract that says your opponent's in charge of you not having a shitty game. You're in charge of having a good game, but your opponent has the social contract that says they should make it so you don't have a bad game. That's how I feel in 40K.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think that's very well said. I just
Basically, don't be a dick.
anything else, Brad? You want to talk anything else about Adepticon, ITC, Final Fantasy VII?
I think that we've talked about Final Fantasy VII as much as people will stomach for me. Otherwise, I think I could do an entire podcast, which I think we will. We should do another podcast soon about video games.
I would totally be down. Yeah, sounds amazing. I don't know how an old man like you knows anything about video games, but we'll
because
figure it
I
out.
was there when video games first started being created, my friend. I had an Atari 2600.
All right, let's not get crazy on this podcast here. We don't want to scare the people away, Brad. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Brad, why don't you sign us off?
Kids, roll your dice in the open, play by intent, and 40K Santa would make all your Forge World dreams come true.